Hi, Dr. Myers. I'm John Mark Junkins, and today I'm going to be talking to you about positioning brand equity and creating value for the National Basketball Association, the NBA. Specifically, how it can better position itself amongst its competitors, the NFL, and to some extent the MLB, by fixing its schedule so that it maximizes the amount of eyeballs and revenue it's generating from its actual product. I'll cover today customer-based brand equity for the NBA, how it should shift its schedule in the calendar. I'll also go into how it should shorten its season, and then I'll finish with how it can, a couple of different ways it can make each game each week feel like a little bit more of an experience than what is currently happening today. So, from a customer-based brand equity standpoint, NBA customers are extremely engaged on social media, especially compared to the other sports leagues. In the 2022-2023 season, the NBA Instagram account, the official Instagram account, had a record-breaking 13 billion views. That's not even accounting for other NBA-related accounts or other social media platforms. Just that sole account on Instagram had 13 billion views. Likewise, the NBA's YouTube channel became the first professional sports league that had over 20 million subscribers and over 12 billion lifetime views. Additionally, so extremely highly engaged social aspect to the NBA customer. They like to follow narratives on Twitter, like to watch highlights on social media. They are very, very online. In addition to that, the other thing that stands out from a brand equity standpoint is the NBA's professional athletes are some of the most recognized in the world. This has a large part to do with they don't have face masks that cover their face, and the proximity of fans at a game to the actual athlete is much, much closer than, say, a baseball field where you might be sitting in left field and never be able to distinguish someone's faces. So fans see their faces on TV all the time. They are easily recognizable at a game, and this just creates extreme popularity for NBA players that they have maximized, that many have maximized to increase their own personal brands. So they're just very recognizable people. Both these strengths for the NBA, the social media aspect and the athlete brands, are very attention-based strengths. And so much of what the rest of this discussion will be is how do you maximize the attention that the NBA is getting? And in large part, I think that's changing the NBA schedule and structure. Because interestingly, despite these two strengths going up year to year in terms of athlete branding and social media engagement, actual game ratings are going down. And a lot of that has to do with when the NBA occurs and somewhat the product on the court, which I will cover later. But just to kind of put it in perspective, raw viewed numbers, so this is minutes viewed per sports league. The NFL this past year had 974 billion minutes watched of content of its actual games. Major League Baseball actually came in second with 329 billion minutes watched, while the NBA only had 285 billion minutes. The NFL is untouchable. The NBA shouldn't even try to compete with that. It should just shift its focus and shift where it lies in the calendar. I think the numbers difference there with the MLB and the NBA are a little misleading because this is just minutes watched, not like TV ratings or anything. And the MLB just has literally twice as many games as does the NBA, and a few more teams as well. So just raw numbers wise, it should beat out the NBA, but I do think there's some ground that can be achieved there with the following strategies. So step one, the NBA should just completely get away from the NFL and college football schedules altogether. Right now, their regular season runs from 22 October to 13 April. And then the playoffs, the first three rounds of the playoffs occur from late April to late May, with the finals, like the championship series, occurring early June to mid-June. This equates to roughly 3.5 games per week. And unfortunately for the NBA, much of its schedule falls during prime time for college football, which is kind of October, November, December, and now January. and as well as the NFL, which is December, January, February, kind of late season and up to the Super Bowl. So my first big positioning recommendation is the NBA should shift its schedule to start at the beginning of December, and the regular season should run through Memorial Weekend. In doing so, 50%, over 50% of regular season games will occur after the Super Bowl, when people have kind of moved on from the NFL and attention can now shift to the NBA. With this schedule, playoffs would occur from Memorial Weekend through July 4th. So again, you're kind of capping what is one of the most premier parts of your sport, the NBA playoffs. You're capping the first 3 rounds with these holiday weekends. You can do a kickoff thing and just have a lot of games occur on those weekends with this format. And then finals, the NBA finals would occur after July 4th and run into mid-July. So you're dodging the NFL season and you're running more into the summer when people are looking for live events and live sports to watch. And even though the raw numbers for the baseball were higher in terms of viewership, from a popularity standpoint, Major League Baseball just is not as relevant in the culture today. And so the NBA only stands to gain by overlapping with baseball as opposed to overlapping with football. And so running through the first half of the Major League Baseball season would not detract from NBA's attention profile. Ways they can enhance this overall just shift in the calendar is by also shortening the season. Currently, there are 82 games in the season. This has been much talked about the last decade or so of being way too long. My proposal to create value for the NBA would be to lower that to 72 games. This attacks the primary reason that people think that ratings are down. Load management, where players sit out games so that they can manage injuries and be rested and playing at their peak at the right times during the season. This would decrease the likelihood of that happening. There are 10 fewer games. It's kind of a two-way thing. It would decrease that just because of the fewer games, but the games would also be inherently more meaningful because 1/8 of the season is gone. So if you start off slow, you're not going to make the playoffs. So there's less time to load manage. And this would just increase the quality of the gameplay. So we've now shifted the schedule where we have more attention, and now the attention is maximized because the gameplay is at a very, very high quality and leads to more engagement. The last thing that they can do is make the schedule more of an experience. So again, by starting in early December, Saturday night can become like the primetime NBA night rather than college football day. And then once college football ends, the NFL takes over Saturday to some extent. So you would at least exclude college football by and large by shifting the schedule, and Saturdays can be your premier night. And then shortly into your schedule, the NFL would go away as well. My proposal would be not to just load this night up with games, but to make it the best 2 to 3 games. So starting early afternoon, mid-afternoon, and evening slate of games that are like the prime games for that week. Again, trying to maximize the eyeballs that are watching and caring about these games week to week. And I would recommend that one of these games needs to be either solely viewable on social media, like the Twitch game of the week or the YouTube TV game of the week, or at least extremely easily accessed via social media. I think this would just up the viewership. The NBA bubble back in 2020 was a huge success with this. When the NBA was the only thing that was on, people were watching obsessively and watching the games and engaging with the product after the games. So I think by shifting the schedule, shortening the season, and making each game an experience and leaning into that social media atmosphere with Twitch or Instagram or YouTube for one whole game each week, this would better position the NBA to maximize attention and shift away from the NFL and outcompete the MLB even more than they already are.